Now, hey guys, gals. Um, this is first video I'm doing about this. Um, many of many of more to come, I guess. Um, where I critique somebody or gameplay. In this particular video, I wanted to um, really not critique the Game Chasers, but kind of give you an idea of what they do. You know, since you can actually see the video, is like what collectors actually go through, but also tips um, and lessons. I jotted down some notes about the latest episode, episode 75, which I've watched a few times, um, and put a few things on there that I feel, people have learned, or anyone who decides to maybe uh, do some research or see if they can learn anything, watch these videos. As always, anyone who's a game collector who just loves watching other collectors like myself, um, you know, something as such. I wanted to say before I started that this isn't, since some people really get butthurt about everything. I don't hate the Chasers. I don't have anything against them. In fact, I love the show. I would love to excuse me, meet Billy and Jay, or Jay and Billy. I always get them confused because Jay looks like Billy and Billy reminds me of a Jay. They seem really cool, all of them. I like how they're all friends and they all, they game chase together. Recently, Chris, if you watch the show, Chris, their cousin, has started game chasing with them. Um, I think it would be cool to do what they do, put it on camera. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to go about it because I don't exactly want to get kicked out, or some people might not want to be in the camera. So um, some people, they put like a camera on themselves and do it like that, and other people just love what they do, and welcome them in the store. Um, because it does give them exposure. But like I said, I'm saying this because I really like them, but it's more because they put their videos out there that you can have an idea of what we go through or what they go through, and also lessons that I think game collectors like myself should know and learn. I'll elaborate a little bit on today's lesson that I particularly picked because some people might get confused with what particularly happened in the video, um, and you'll see what I mean later on. Particularly where the guy invites them over and he doesn't sell anything to them. Um, that's usually an anomaly, but I've never seen that before. Usually, people have, what the guy should have done is I've seen that. I think in a couple of their videos, but other people's videos where um, they take the stuff and they set it aside and say, "Here's what I'm willing to sell." At least he should have did that, but I don't know. I don't know what his deal was. Um, Sometimes I just wonder if, I saw some comments like he just wanted a friend or someone to just show it off to. I've seen at least one other, if not two other collectors go through the same thing. Not to the scale that he had, but um, I'm not exactly sure if they just had too much memories with the stuff. I don't know. They wanted to get rich. Don't know. I'm guessing it's the memories, but we'll elaborate maybe a little bit more on that later. But without further ado, I'm going to start right now with uh, not really critiquing in a criticizing way, but analyzing what they've said and what they went through, and you'll see what I mean when I'm finished. Um, so, like I said, the episode is their latest episode, and I might go through them backwards because I think it's fun to see the lessons they show and what you can learn from them, what I've learned from game collecting myself. And so, without further ado, the episode starts like it always does. And the first thing that I wrote down is Bill goes to a flea market, and he doesn't know where he's looking through. He's going through it, and he's saying, he says that games are sometimes mixed with music and movies, and I notice CDs a lot of times. I notice this at not just flea markets, particularly stores. That's where I usually go, um, just for something local and something quick to get. I mean, for me, anything is great. I love everything. So no matter what it is, I love it. But that's your first. That's a first lesson in video game collecting. If you see this video, um, and you're just starting out, or just it never dawned on you, I don't know how I learned it. I think somebody I think okay. I can't remember if somebody. I went with somebody and they happened to see that a game was mixed in with the music CDs, or I think that somebody had said, "Oh, if I have any games, it's over there with the music CDs." Well, as most of you know, the original PlayStation, like after they uh, stopped doing the long boxes, they became like see if I the Dreamcast as well. But I can't. I don't. Well, I think off the top of my head, I don't have any PlayStation games um, available. Like I don't know. They might be in the boxes behind me. I still need to organize, but uh, the PlayStation games, and I just happened to mention Dreamcast because it could be any game really. It could be PC games. I find a few PC games, but anyway, anything really in a jewel case can be easily disguised with music, or even sometimes people put movies in those cases, but mainly music. Um, and you should look through to see if you happen to see that PlayStation label there on the spine. Maybe I should make another video, but because I want to have like a illustration of what you should look for. But I usually find generic. So far, I haven't found any good games like that. Just generic sports games people don't want. But I mean, a game's a game, and I find that I actually enjoy. I've come to enjoy sports games. So I remember back in the day, specifically not liking them. But take this as an important lesson. Look through. Maybe you're not. Maybe some. I've heard collectors say that they wanted sports games, to help finish out a collection or something. I can't remember what the term was, but the easy find games. Um, But the other reason, too, guys and gals, is that as collectors, you probably know, if you are a collector, and you probably are, um, or even a seller, you should know by now that things they appreciate value. So, buy the sports games for a quarter, 50 cents, even a buck. And in a few years, it'll be $3, $4 a piece. Nothing to write home about, but I mean, like, hey, it adds up. What used to not go for much goes for $4 or $5 a piece. Every little bit helps, but that's one of the important lessons you can learn from this video. If you're a long-time collector, like I said, I figured it out. Just happened to be one of those things. Then later in the episode, they go to another flea market, And I have some notes here, so forgive me if you see me look down. But Billy meets a guy who says he has stuff at a storage unit, and he won't, you know, um, doesn't want to leave a phone number. Apparently, he's going to bring it back. Um, you never know what you're going to find with that. But like Jay says, you always have to take that lead. You always got to take that and say, all right, there's a possibility. Now, so far, I haven't been one of the lucky ones that someone's called back or said, oh, this person or that person, or I found the stuff. I've given my phone number out many different times, and it's so far it hasn't panned out. But don't take that from me, because a lot of people say, once in a blue moon they're going to call. So, on that very minute chance of you know, winning the lottery, that very small chance of that happening, um, you just give your number out. You just any kind of lead, anything really could pan out in the end. Like I said, if you look on other videos, you can see a lot of collectors. They uh, they unfortunately get those calls, or even friend of a friend of a friend. So that is another lesson. Now, um, let's see if I should say that. Um, and I should have said too that there's spoilers in this. Hopefully you didn't. I'll put that in the headline, but hopefully you didn't see it. You watched it first before watching this video. Um, but I guess I might as well say that even though this is a bit, I mean, the whole thing's a spoiler, but they show it later in the episode that he goes back and the guy doesn't bring him. Of course, what a waste of time. Go figure. Jay saw it coming. I mean, I generally saw that coming. I see that, but you can't just assume it's just best to be like, yeah. The way to possibly avoid that, because I had thought about it when I'd seen that, the only way to possibly avoid that would be to maybe offer them some money. Say, hey, anywhere from, I'm just throwing a number out there, from $20 to $50, just to be like, look, you bring me your games, I'll give you some money just to bring them. Just so you don't totally waste your time. It's just a thought. Depends on who you are. I'm sure some people might, not want to do that. But by the way, he did elaborate why he didn't want. I should maybe it's not a big deal, but I should have mentioned. I guess Wood had mentioned that they didn't want him to go in the storage unit because of guns, um, which I could kind of see his thinking. I didn't want to get hurt. Maybe he's a collector of guns. Any type of possibility, and you know, I mean, should they be packed away, and they should be in cases that really shouldn't even matter. They should be safely locked away and unloaded. So it shouldn't really be a big deal on that. But maybe he's paranoid that someone might take one, or like I said, there are people who collect them, and there are very rare and expensive guns. I mean, you figure, starting they're $300-400 a piece. So, you, um, I don't know whatever his reason is, and I'm a big safety person, so I could kind of see why. But like I said, they should be packed away, and maybe he's just looking for an excuse not to let them look. And getting to, excuse me, are more um, getting to my point almost. Um, there's a guy later that Chris gets a hold of, and they go there, and he's got a bunch of great stuff. I mean, Atari stuff, uh, like Jay says, pre-Nintendo stuff. It's in really good condition. A lot of stuff I would have loved myself, even the electronic games. A lot of Atari games he might have had that I never saw. What's funny is the Atari games they don't go for much. You just don't happen to see them that often. I mean, most of the people I've heard, stores can't even give them away. I'd take them, but they can't even give them away, um, because nobody wants them. Um, but I don't know if it almost felt like you just wanted someone to hang out with. Someone who's like, oh, here you go. I saw another collector. I think I know two of them. I believe another two of them. The first one only said that I've heard a few of them say, I should say, I've heard a few of them say that they've met people and it seemed like nobody wanted to sell anything. I've heard that a few times, but it's usually like it's just a few words and it's quick. It's not like most of them actually record, or at least that I've seen, actually record the video. It's just them talking or narrating. Um, but I can't remember which collector it was where he went to a flea market. The guy had a Virtual Boy, he had a bunch of stuff sitting on the table, and he was asking him how much for this, how much for that, and he would just sit there and tell him about, like, oh, I got this when I was a kid, or got this then, or got this then, and it's like, um, do you just want to talk about it? I mean, does that make you feel good? And just had a table of stuff, and it wouldn't sell anything. Like I said, he just decided to keep everything. I don't know if people don't want to get rid of it or they just want to charge more. I don't know what the case is, but anyway, getting off, well, not really off the subject, but getting to the point where this next guy just invites him over, and it's almost like, do you just want to talk to somebody? I mean, sometimes I feel like, hey, you want to flip me like 50, $100? I'll sit there and listen to you tell me about your collection and you know um, what you want to what you know. So we got this then, got that then, and it's like, if you want someone, just put an ad on Craigslist. 50 to $100 to sit there and listen to me tell you about how awesome the stuff was when I grew up with. Like, I don't know, maybe he just changed his mind. Uh, he was not leaning anywhere. He tells Chris is looking. I know Chris is looking at a Nintendo. It tells him, oh, it goes for $100, $120. Oh, it wouldn't budge. And, I mean, he's sitting there saying that, he realizes things goes up and down, but it's like, apparently, like I said, I personally would have been very angry about that. I personally would have been like, well, if you didn't want to sell anything, you should have just never invited us over. It's possible he changed his mind. Like I said, and entertainment, whatever he would have said he wanted for that Nintendo, I would have offered it just to see if he would have taken it, just to see if there would have been any kind of leeway. Um, like I said, it might have been a nostalgia thing, but whatever the case is, like I said, I've said it and I'll repeat it 20,000 times over. I would have been very unhappy. Uh, I was just like, why didn't you just, you could have said you're not interested in selling at all. Uh, but with that in mind, um, that moves me to my lesson. Um, my lesson, and possibly number one in video game collecting, I haven't decided where it is that sometimes it's best to pay more. Now, let me elaborate first before some people are like, hey, you know, you just said, like you really didn't say, you just implied that maybe you shouldn't pay more, or you probably wouldn't pay more, or ridiculous prices um, for this guy who, uh, literally just invited them over and never sent them away with anything. Hell, I should have given him a pizza or something. But anyway, um, the let me say that when it came to his stuff, I'm not saying particularly they should have paid more. Um, I mean, they really did waste their time, but that really wasn't on them. I don't blame them whatsoever. Um, that I mean, this is the situation, but the reason I feel you should pay more sometimes is it's best to, to not have wasted your time when it comes to that. And once again, this is totally different from him. I'm not saying pay double or triple, or, you know, if a game goes for 40 and they're selling it for 50, 55, um, even a console, sometimes it's just best to pay more. The reason for this is simply because you'll hear a lot of collectors, and I've done it too, um, oh, I thought about it and decided not to get it, not to pay for it, and then you regret it later when you go back and it's not there, someone else bought it. That's really one of the biggest reasons to, like I said, I've heard it from a lot of other collectors. It's just better to pay more. I know it sucks a little bit. It's, you want to get that awesome bargain deal that you find on eBay, or, a $60 game for $5. So I get it. You want to wait. I think um, there are a lot of collectors who are very patient. They have rules. More power to them. Takes them a long time to collect, but more power to them, because I couldn't do that. I get really mad if I go somewhere and waste a bunch of time and come away with nothing. I got to kind of come away with something. And a lot of collectors tell me, they have certain rules. I have so much respect for them because they can keep themselves from spending a certain amount. Uh, Me, I just love everything. I want everything. So believe me when I say that I have a lot of respect for people who can do that. And that's why a lot of collectors will uh, collect over time about things that they feel are part of their collection. Um, I think the one collector on Facebook, I think his rule is don't spend more than $20 or something on something, and he's got a decent collection to prove it. But of course, it's probably taken him a while. I think he said 25, 30 more years. So it's been a slow progress, but it's still neat to look at. I think that's where a lot of them head up Facebook. I talked to him. I liked him. He's an alright guy. Um, getting out the subject a tad, but not really. I guess the idea is that, you know, it's really more about what you're, you know, I don't know, really more about how you feel afterwards. And like I said, it's best just to pay a little bit more, um, because in the end, you won't be kicking yourself. Um, that might be the most important lesson. Um, Other than, as most of you know, if you've been collecting for a while, or at least held on to some of your stuff, a lot of things appreciate and value. Um, I would almost argue that's number one, but I don't want to hear these people that, oh, you're just doing it for the money. I could care less about the money. I mean, you could just watch my actions. I'll take any game for any price. Generally, if it's cheap Madden games that nobody wants. I remember the one store that, it's a shame it's not around anymore. But the owner used to give me the Madden games because they couldn't sell them, so I would just take them. I'd be like, oh, give these games a home. And that's generally my lesson. Um, but like I said, the important thing to take away about my lesson about why pay more is, like I said, that you don't want to regret doing it later. And like I said, that the most important thing is that you don't want to look back and go, oh, crap, I wish I would have bought that, because I've done it myself. I've learned that myself now, and that's why I tend to pick up that item, or whatever it may be. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't always have the money, um, but it's a good lesson to take away, and it's not really from this video, particularly that lesson, but it's just something to think about. I know there were a few elaborate things I wanted to say with that. Like I said, you have the, I guess you could say the bragging or nostalgia factor, but more or less that you don't want to buy things and regret it, or not regret, excuse me, I'm tired, not buy them and regret it. Um, so, um, trying to think, is there anything other than that? I wish I would have waited to start this, so I might just pause it and restart it later. But that's the most important thing to take away, just that you don't want to regret it later. And well, let's see here. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I'm going to pause the video.